Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter @ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/Scott P. Gallagher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's LMS member call is going to be Wednesday, May 4th at 4 p.m. Central Time or 5 p.m. Eastern. All right, well, this week we've got 3 different topics to talk about, and the annual YellowPages print count is out and how that relates to some lemonade. We're going to talk about that from Mike Blumenthal. I'm going to share a little bit of a story about Getty Images for anybody that does some web development, some stories behind that, and how Getty Images tried to sue me for over $30,000 over the years, and now they're going after big boys, and I'll share you a little bit about that. And last but not least, just a quick little update this morning. I don't know if this really should be included in the industry updates or whatnot, but it kind of gave me a little bit of a shock that there was an Apple employee found dead inside the Apple campus in San Francisco this morning. It looks like that it is a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but nonetheless, we'll have some opportunity to look into some message perhaps behind that, because it was in a conference room, and not very good. All right, at the end of the call, you can ask questions. You can put up your hand or type your questions into the question box, and I will get to you. All right, so every year Blumenthal does an annual Yellow Page count. I think he started around 2009. I remember thinking back in 2009, it just seems, holy cow, it doesn't seem like 7 years ago. But it was actually on April 20th, 2009, that everything changed for SEO. And that's when Google launched Google Maps and the integration of maps into local. And at that time, I believe it was called Google Places. And, Google went through a lot of different changes since then, but now it's Google My Business. And back in 2009, it was always, hey, of course I was leading in the forefront and talking about Yellow Pages and whatnot, but for a few years, we'd even go through the Yellow Pages to find, those businesses that are spending a ton of money on Yellow Page ads, because it was over $1,000 a month to have a full page ad in the Yellow Pages in our local community here. So they're spending $12,000 a year to have a full page ad, and I was going to, try to capture some of that. And so it's inevitable that every year you see the Yellow Pages start to drop. And this year is inevitably no different. And, the average Yellow Page count had an index of 184 back in 2010. And now that index count is at 80. So it is less than half. It is almost 1/3 the size as it was 7 years ago. And you can imagine that. I mean, that's kind of a shocker. However, here's some interesting things that have happened with Yellow Pages across the country this year. The page count barely dropped over last year. However, the amount of advertisers has dropped significantly. Now, we don't know any of the numbers or metrics for that, but there's the obvious thing. You remember back in 7th grade when you had to do a certain paper and it had to be a page long? What would you do? You would write font sizes bigger. You would make your lines bigger in your words, and that's exactly what Yellow Pages have done. Now, there is an increase in ad fillers as well. So it almost seems like that Yellow Pages is, going to try to hang on for another 5 to 10 years, and try to maintain their page count by increasing the ads. But really, is this really offering? Who is this offering value to? Now, I kind of had a joke internally inside my head, thinking that YellowPages is still used by some of the aging population. Well, we're running into an interesting time right now. And I bet there's internet marketers around the world that are trying to, think about this. And the aging population, well, the baby boomer generation, my father's generation, is now just beginning to retire. So over the next 10 years, you're going to see these baby boomers, which, at least in the United States and Canada, is by far the largest age group segment. Both older and younger age segments don't even come close to surpassing the baby boomers. It's just a massive segment. And so, over the next 20 to 30 years in this country, we're going to see some massive changes, because who's going to support this aging population? How is it going to be supported? Where's money going to be coming from? Where are these people going to be staying? And I look around my community, and there's really not a lot of development going on, except for, well, there's a big complex that's an old age home that's being built. And I think there's some opportunities for search marketers in that in that particular niche. But getting back to the YellowPages, I think this is probably the last year that I'll even talk about this, because it's really no longer relevant. We used to look at the demise of the YellowPages to support our efforts that, hey, having your business found on Google is going to get your business bigger. It's that simple. The question is always, well, how much bigger is it going to get? Being at number one, but nonetheless, you've got to be on the internet. These businesses have got to have exposure on the internet, or you're not going to survive. I remember in 11th grade, I had an economics teacher, and he said to me, if you find a new way to advertise, you will become a millionaire. Well, that was before he knew what the internet was. That was before, well, that was the same. I was in 12th or 11th grade in 91. So the internet was introduced to the public in 92. Little did he know. I remember him saying, oh, most of the advertising channels, if not all, are used. And well, you never say that, because look what's happened now. The internet marketing umbrella is just massive. A company can spend money in 100 different areas electronically on the internet to try and grow their business or advertise their business, and still fail. So that's why we have to become better marketers, and really doing what marketing really means, and that's understanding an audience, understanding what their buyer objections are, creating content that overcomes those objections, and making sure that content is in areas where the prospective audience is going to be. Either that's just as simple as it is, or that's how hard it is. It's both. So, we've also seen that in SEO, that, a few years ago, we could manipulate the search engines. We could do SEO and optimize for the search engines. Well, unfortunately, SEO is a bullshit term. And, in order to get a business listed up high in Google these days, it's not manipulating a search engine. It's not optimizing content for search engines. I'd really like to introduce a new term to our industry. And we could call it like PO, like prospect optimization. It's, that's ultimately what we're doing. We're optimizing, and we should be optimizing content for users, and not, of course, the search engines. This is going to be a short call, but let me tell you a little bit about a story about Getty. If you know about Getty Images, if you've ever done websites, we've done a couple hundred websites, probably closer to 300 websites. And I remember back in the day, we would just find pictures and, put them on a website, until my client called me up one day and said, Scott, we're getting sued. I said, what? He said, We're getting sued by a company called Getty Images for $9,800. And I went, what? And Getty had sent them screenshots, and it was like 4 images that were stolen and put on this website. And I had to take responsibility of that. And with this particular client, at that point in time, I contacted an attorney, and the client ultimately said, it's, we've got to pay it. They don't want to fight it or anything of that nature. And so we negotiated $1,200. And so I ended up paying $1,200 for stealing 4 images. Well, time went on, and over the next couple of years, we had developed other multiple websites, but of course purchased images now. And another client had contacted us, and it turned out that I had a project manager, then I had my development team overseas, and it was my team overseas that was, they indicated, yes, we have licensed images. Okay, great. That was a part of our relationship protocol, and my project manager assumed that they were all okay, and we ended up getting 3 more cases that were, trying to sue my clients. And because my clients are the domain holders, they own the domain name, they are responsible for all the content that's on there, regardless who did it. Well, of course, my clients are wanting to come back after us for that. Then, of course, I try to run a very legit, ethical business and to take that responsibility for that. It was an internal problem on my end. We took the word for our developers, and I took the word for my project manager, and even though I put the steps in place, I still got screwed. Well, that really changed my business even further. First off, it gave me a bad taste for the web development world. Even when you do things right, people are still trying to screw you, and not only try to screw you, but they're extorting you for $1,200 for an image, for the same image that you can buy for a couple of bucks. It was extortion. I bet you can go to Google right now and type in Getty Images and extortion. I'm doing it right now. Actually, I'll show you. Let's see what happens even before I do a search, because and I bet you're going to find a variety. We're going to find a variety. Well, it's made of Getty Images. So right off the top, right here from an attorney, journal of law that says, tips for responding to Getty Images extortion letters. So look at this information. I mean, I haven't looked into this situation for years. It's probably been 3 or 4 years since I had to do all of this, and just look at the information that's out there. Getty Images extortion 2013. So Getty Images really created a backlash, and it was reported at the time that this was like 2012 or somewhere around there, maybe 2013. But Getty Images was making more money from sending out these letters than they were selling their images in the first place. The reason why it was extortion was because, their premium was tens of thousands of %. And in any event, the way we ended up responding to those 3 was we put the onus on Getty Images, their legal department, to prove that the stolen material generated that type of additional revenue and took that revenue away from them. And inevitably, that's not something they can prove. So they just completely ignored the response and has never followed up with that. I made changes inside my company to the nth degree that I have. Number one, I still outsource development, and that's the only part of the business that is outsourced overseas anymore. And they don't supply a single image. It's up to my project manager. And obviously, if I have an employee that's stealing images, well, they're physically in my office in the United States, we'll get the police involved and have them charged for theft, and not my business. Obviously, if I had an employee that did that, I would do what I could to take care of my client and maintain that relationship. But, I make it extremely clear that, if you're going to use any images on a website, buy them. We use a company called 123RF, and we're buying images for like $1 and $2. So it's not a big cost or anything of that nature. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Getty Images is now suing Google. And they are saying that it is Google's fault that people are stealing their images because Google is showing them the images. Well, how many times have we seen over the years that somebody tries to sue Google because of the results that Google puts out there? It's a damn computer algorithm that decides what to show. And the fact of the matter is this just shows you how shitty of a company Getty Images really is that it kind of reminds me of the City Search days, where City Search was trying to hold hostage Google for showing their review information, but they quickly realized that if they allowed Google to show their review information, they're getting free exposure through the algorithm and getting traffic to their website. Well, Google never says, take this image or you have rights to use this image. In fact, Google's got the ability to do searches where you can get, you can find images that are, I forget what it's called, but like copyright free. I think I'm still showing my desktop. User rights. So you click on here and then you can find images that are labeled for reuse with modification. And so you get a completely different set of images. And any one of these images, Google is explicitly saying, yeah, it's safe. It's a safe picture to take. But if you notice, the images come from Wikipedia, most of them. And any images that go on Wikipedia, you agree that those are, if you put it up there, you agree that it's able to be reused. So, it looks like that they're looking for $7 billion from Google. It's just, don't buy from Getty Images. That's all I'm saying. Be careful with your web development in regards to that. In any event, that comes to the conclusion of this week's update. I'm a little bit longer than I thought I was going to be. I do shoot for 20 minutes, and here we are sitting at 17 minutes. So that's good. There's a few different things that were updated. I think very soon I'm going to start talking about some of the things that are working in my agency for client acquisition. I've told you before, I've got, every once in a while, I try to get back into everything inside my business. In 2005, when I started selling this, it was like the deer in the headlight look. Nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. Now, it's amazing how many times people are getting solicited for this service. So you've got to be different. You've got to work harder. That's it. That's the bottom line. Even direct mail is not working in the same fashion as it used to build these leads up. You're looking at about a 1% response rate for that. So, we'll start to talk about a few of those different things in the next coming weeks, and what works and transpires. But in any event, I'm going to open the floor to any questions.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for our free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.